with the book, eventually I will also have royalty income, which is the only income that I didn't have yet. I have passive income, I have rental income, I have all kinds of other incomes, but I didn't have royalty income. This royalty income is also what artists get when their music gets played on all platforms. So that's why I'm doing it. And I also had a lot of time writing the book. I want to say that. And I didn't think I was going to have fun. Hello, hello. Welcome back to the show. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you an update on my upcoming book, Cash Libre, and also answer some questions that came through Instagram. Okay. So, for those of you that are new here, welcome. I have been writing a book for a while now, like for quite some time. So I am more of a talker than I am a writer. However, I did enjoy working through the upcoming book that I'm launching next year. And I also want to share with you some of the things that people are curious about the publishing world. And I also have a disclaimer, and that is that I am not an expert in publishing books. This is going to be my first official solo book. So in 2021, I decided to participate in a chapter of a book that was released today, Inspire Latinas, Volume 10. And in that book, I only wrote like a micro chapter. So Cash Libre is the first official book that I have been dedicating a lot of time, a lot of energy into. And originally, my goal with creating Cash Libre was I want to launch it in 2026. So for those of you that have been part of the Cash Libre newsletter for a while, you know that my intention was to always do it in 2026. Now, as I started to write the book, I realized that for me, it was really hard to sit down and just write away or even commit to the schedule that I kind of planned for myself when it came to, well, on Wednesdays or Fridays, I'm gonna sit down to write this book because that's just not how I work. I like structure and I thrive with structure, but when it comes to writing, it wasn't coming as easy for me. So what I decided to do instead was I need to move my body, I need to prioritize movement, and then let's get to write. And that actually worked out pretty good. I also decided that writing the book at my house was never going to happen because I got distracted with so many things. So one of the things that I was doing was right after I took my daughters to school, I would just drive to a local coffee shop and write. So if you have been thinking about writing a book, start now. Okay. So I also decided to work with a book coach to help me navigate really like what is the world of publishing? How do I even write the book? Where do I even start? And she was able to help me and provide so many beautiful resources that I'm using as I prepare for the launch of Cash Libre. Now, one of the things that I didn't know, when maybe you're going to learn this today, is how many ways of publishing a book are. So when you write the book, you want people to read the book, typically is your close friends because they want to give you feedback on how it's doing. And you also want to also have someone edit the book. Now, in my case, I wanted to take a whole 12 months to write this book, and that was very intentional. So part of the reason why I wanted to take longer than what my book coach wanted us to do or suggested that we did was because I don't like rules. So if someone tells me you have to write a book in 6 months, I will say I will write it in 8 months. Or in this case, I told my coach I'm gonna do it in a year. And so that was number one. Number two is because I am a mom and I'm running a business. So I didn't want my business income to suffer as I was writing the book. So as I was writing the book, I was continuing to launch my programs, the Say Hola Wealth Academy and Have Us and Wealth. I was continuing to reach out to corporations and be a speaker at their financial wellness events and things like that. And so I knew from the get-go that I wanted to take my time. Okay. And as I was reflecting on, wow, I'm really set on making it, I guess, on bringing this book to life at my own time was also because I didn't know what was going to happen in our community this year. And so everything, as you know, it's a little bit bumpy right now. I shouldn't say a little bit bumpy, it's very bumpy. And so I wanted to also have the space for our community to figure out how to navigate uncertainty. And so the book was done. And I learned through my coach that there are different ways of publishing your books. So I'm going to tell you what those are. So the first one is you can go the traditional publishing route, which means that you get a book deal. I knew I wasn't going to get a book deal because I didn't want to be essentially vetted on how I wanted my book to sound. So a lot of people that get book deals, the publisher has a lot to say when it comes to what goes on the actual pages. And so I didn't want to be vetted or censored. I want to say fuck if I wanted to feel like that word was required through the storytelling that I have on the book. And so I didn't want to wait for, oh, I have to get a book deal. The other thing that I learned with traditional publishing is that you have to have a huge following for even a publishing house to consider you as a potential writer. Writing is a lot like finding a job. Just because you're good at interviewing doesn't mean that you're going to land the first job because of that. And so I knew that I didn't want to have the censorship. I knew that I didn't want to feel rushed to grow my following because for over the last 6 years, I have been growing the following on Instagram, the podcast, and LinkedIn very steady. And I'm okay with that because I'm not ready to have thousands of people that follow me. And so that's why traditional publishing wasn't even an option for me. The second option is self publishing, which means that you get to do it all. You get to apply for that little number that is in the back of the books. Essentially, it's like a QR code for the Library of Congress to identify your book. I didn't want to find out how to print the book. I didn't want to be in charge of doing a lot of the behind the scenes. Think of it like logistically. And that route is affordable. And it's for someone who maybe they just have a lot of time. I don't have a lot of time. And so self-publishing wasn't an option for me, although I do want to say that it did cross my mind to do it for a little bit. And I even play around with the idea of having a really fun name for essentially the LLC that I will create for publishing this book. And after doing a little bit of research, I knew that the quality of the book will probably not be what I wanted. And so self publishing is something that I said is not for me. So, how I decided to bring Cash Libre to life for you next year is through a hybrid model. Essentially, what I did is I apply and interview different publishing homes to essentially help me decide if I wanted to sign with that. Now, the investment for this kind of publishing model is a little bit more than self publishing, but it's way less than, I guess, with traditional publishing, the publisher pays you for writing the book. So, yes, I am making an investment to publish my book, but I want to tell you why. Number one is because I wanted to have 100% control of the book writing process and the things that I get to say through the book. As you know, if you have been following me for a while, you know that I've always have a lot to say. Number two, I wanted to include illustrations from a Latina illustrator that I hire. And I wanted to essentially showcase a little bit of our cultura through the book. And so some of the publishing homes don't want that because, quote unquote, it's not very marketable. And so with the hybrid model, how this works, and I'm learning this, by the way, is I decided to submit my manuscript to a publishing home, essentially for them to look at what I wrote, what was the book concept, who's my ideal reader, and things like that. And they came back. This is the first one, by the way. They came back with essentially we're going to have to do all of these changes to the book if you want to publish with us. And I said, We will not do any of those changes because I don't want my voice to be censored and I don't want my reader to get essentially a book that it's not original. And so with that publishing home, I said, thank you for your time, but I am not going to do it. And I wanted to do it with them because they have a good presence, they have good reputation, but then that didn't work out. So the next thing that I did was I reached out to my book coach once again and I said, hey, I think I need your guide on how to reach out to publishing homes because I'm struggling a little bit with finding the right home for me. And so I shared with my book coach what I was looking for. And I said, I don't want to give my money to a big publishing label just because they are a big label. So I'm looking for a publishing home that is reliable, that is very huge on quality control, and that are also going to help me market my book in a way that is going to be available where I want it to be available. And by the way, this publishing home has to have shared values. So for me, that was really, really important, especially after navigating the first experience with the publishing. And she put me in contact with the publishing home that I finally decided to work with, which I will tell you on the next episode what the name is. But I decided to work with them because our values are very much in alignment. I've also requested, I had some requests for this publishing home as I was preparing to say yes to them. So one of the requirements that I had was that I also want to bring another Latina illustrator to do the cover of my book. And right now, we are in negotiation for that. So essentially, I'm dropping the name of this other person that want to do the cover for the book. And you probably are thinking, why would she want to do that? Well, a big part of the book and the story of the book is about also redirecting dollars back to our community. And so I presented the name of this illustrator to the publishing home and I say, this is who they are. This is the work they've done. These are their accolades, credentials, and whatever you need to know. This is the person. And so they decided to consider the name. And then they also asked me, have you offered any, have you negotiated anything with this illustrator? And I said, no, I have not negotiated. In fact, she doesn't even know that I'm dropping her name for being the creator for the cover. But I do want you to consider that because for me, it's really important that if I'm going to give you this big check for the book, that a portion of that goes back to my community. And the publishing home that I'm working with was very much appreciative of my approach. And they also said, wow, this is a beautiful thing that you're doing. And they mentioned, how I'm also doing that through the book, like how I'm talking about that and the importance of redirecting money back to our community. And so that is the model that I'm going with. So it's called hybrid model, which means that it's an 80% split. Now, if you ever want to write a book because you think you're going to become wealthy with the book sales, don't do it. Okay. That is not how it works. Typically, when you publish a book, you actually ended up losing money. In my case, I didn't lose any revenue money because I was continuing and I will continue to launch my programs. But sometimes when authors are through the launch week or even like book tours or whatever it is that you see on Instagram, that is money that we are not making. And so you might be wondering, well, why in the heck are you doing this, Lucy? Like, if you're losing money, why would you do a book? I'm doing the book because I want to leave a legacy for our community, also for my daughters, and also because when you have a book, it is actually easier to get deals as a speaker at bigger conferences, at national events. And so that's the reason why I'm doing it. And another reason with the book, eventually, I will also have royalty income, which is the only income that I didn't have yet. I have passive income, I have rental income, I have all kinds of other incomes that I didn't have royalty income. This royalty income is also what artists get when their music gets played on all platforms. So That's why I'm doing it. And I also had a lot of time writing the book. I want to say that. And I didn't think I was going to have fun. And right now, as I prepare for what's next, I'm going to need your help. Okay? So, the next phase of the book is I need to find people that want to become advanced readers for the book. So, you might be wondering what in the world is that? So, an advanced reader is someone who gets the digital copy of the book before it comes live on Amazon, on books.org. So you get first essentially chisme of how the book looks like, the illustration, storytelling, and you get to be part of my essentially my launch team. And this year, I started already asking to close friends, colleagues, other online coaches, creators that I respect and I admire. And I invited them to be part of my advanced reader club. And they say yes. But my goal, I have a very crazy goal. Okay. So my goal is to have 200 advanced readers when they call it pub week. So publishing week, we're able to have at least 100 reviews. Reviews are so important so people can get access to even knowing that the book is new. And so I'm sure I will be doing another podcast episode on this, but I've already created my launch hub. I am big on automation. I am big on creating systems that will save me money and time. And so if you're interested in becoming an advanced reader, get on my email list, okay? Those people get so many things that other people don't get. And so that is the update that I have for you. I'm having fun and I am a little bit nervous. I'm not gonna lie. I'm really nervous about the next steps because it's new, right? Because anything that is new, our brain is always working and doing what it does. It tells you danger. This is new. We don't know what it's like. But as I prepare for the next phase of bringing this book to life for you, I'm also going to be having a lot of fun. So by the time I'm recording this podcast is already November. And so many of you know that I love skiing and I love snow. And so I am physically preparing for ski season. So I am working out extra. I got rid of my long nails. I don't have fake nails right now because that's something that I do when I'm skiing. I like to put on that glove and feel the grip of I'm in control. And I am also going to be heading out for vacation. And so I'm doing a lot of that. And I cannot wait for you to see this book. Every time I read it out loud, I cry. It's so good, okay? The other thing that I wanted to share with you is I am also working with a voice coach right now to help me with the breathing for when the time to narrate the book comes. The way I am planning on launching the book is we're going to do digital version first and printed version, and then after that I will do the audiobook. So for those of you that are going to say I'm going to wait until you launch the audiobook to buy it, knock it up. You have to be part of the printed version of the book. And so I am prepping right now for that. I am working with a voice coach, and if someone reminds me to do an episode on this, I will share with you because this is my second voice coach. I worked with a voice coach last year and it was not good. And so now I'm working with another voice coach who was highly recommended by my friend Sixta. And I have been having a lot of fun. So for those of you that are not familiar with what is voice coaching or voice training, essentially they help you with breathing, articulation. For some people that want to lose their accent, they can also help with that. I don't want to lose my accent. I want to keep my accent because that's who I am. But they are helping me with breathing techniques. They are helping me with enunciating things better. They're also helping me with relaxing. So when I'm talking, I'm not like, oh my God, I'm listening, like I can't breathe. And it's going well. I'm having a lot of fun. And fun fact, I'm also teaching my daughter some of those techniques because I want to help him read aloud better. So wherever I'm learning through my voice coaching school, I'm also teaching them like, hey Nenas, let's do this. And so that's what I have for you. If you enjoy this episode, please consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, and I will catch you on the next episode. Ciao.